Well, Talha Köse is a professor of political and international relations at Istanbul Şehir University. He joins me now live in the studio to give us some of his insight on the amazing events of the last 24 hours, really, or even less, actually. This has been so much happening in such a remarkably short period of time. But first of all, if the aim of this military group was to weaken this government, they've done exactly the opposite.
Yes. So actually, this effort looked more like a terrorist attack rather than a coup. So bombing the parliament, bombing the presidential palace, shooting at the people. I mean, these, in the conventional coup in Turkey, usually the military takes over the parliament, takes over the presidential palace and tries to control and protect the people. But this is a little bit different. So it really increased people's sensitivity. It further took them into the streets, and the resistance quite increased. And the press review and press presence was very important. So nobody really supported or decided to stay neutral. So the style of the effort also backfired.
At least for now, it looks like this attempted coup made a very fractured national government actually more unified. Do you think the show of unity we're witnessing now will last, or is this very temporary?
I think for a period of time, I think for the last decade, I mean, there were so many disagreements within the Turkish society, but I have never seen such a unity for the last decade. So people really unified against the coup, unifies against such efforts, you know, Gülen's move, and media was unified, and people really, I mean, sooner or later preferred to continue this style of resistance. So it was very important. So not everybody took the streets, but in terms of their support in the social media and other forms of media, they were almost at the, the same point. So that was very important, I think.
Question I'm asking, though, is will it last? And will this government actually come together? Because, as you know, the opposition has constantly said that they think the majority party in this government, the AK party, is simply getting too powerful. And it seems that the AK party and other members of parliament have said from now on, after this event, we are going to work more closely together. We will be a unified government.
I think they didn't, actually this coup effort did not start last night. So the December 17th and 25th were the first fire of this coup effort. So they tried to psychologically oppress the government. So it took many steps, the weakening of the government, but other people did not take...
Who tried to psychologically oppress them?
The Gülenist movement. So some people argued that this is related, that this is a problem to press freedom. Some others believe that this is, another oppressive move. But within the time, I think this effort, confirmed that this Gülenist threat is really a serious threat. They are very much within the government and within the military. So I think this fear and this serious issue is taken more seriously with the other people. So
with the other people, you mean the opposition parties? Yes.
So opposition parties and even the neutral people, even people who are really not sympathetic to, AK Party in terms of its ideology, in terms of its, lifestyle. So I think this, to a certain extent, consolidated the people. So if they can, if the government can find a way to deal these issues, these problems through, legal frame, I think this may further consolidate.
Let me ask you about this military faction itself. What were they thinking doing this? Not only did they not have the support of the wider military, they didn't have public backing in doing this. Why would they try?
I think it's a matter of timing. So in other places, in judicial system, in some other bureaucratic posts, in the police, some Gülenist people have been, contained through legal means. So it was coming to the military. So in this August higher military council, they were planning to deal with the Gülenist threat within the military. So I think they understood that that will be next move in the August. So before they are kicked out of the Turkish military, they wanted to try this. So they thought if we stand strong and if we convince some other neutral generals, people will be afraid and we will have some international backing. But it didn't work because the main reason was Turkish people consolidated against them.
Do you think they were a bit delusional perhaps about still trying to build on the momentum of the events of 2013 when there were massive protests against the majority party here? Did they perhaps think that somehow if they made the first move, they could get the core of that earlier movement out in support of their actions?
But what they did was just opposite of that. So firing at people, bombing the parliament, I mean, you cannot attract people if you do this. So I think they deliberately knew that people will not, take into streets for them,
right,
or at least, be neutral. So bombing of the parliament, I mean, for no coup efforts will ever, I think, try this. So I think this is so unpopular thing.
The threat of a military coup has always lingered in the background in Turkey. Do you think the events of Friday night have perhaps put an end to that?
I mean, we cannot completely say that, this came to an end. But for the first time, I think the ordinary citizens took in the streets, they are organized, and I think they will take this very seriously, and military will take, the people's attitude, how they respond seriously. So in the past, they expected that in the issue of security, they will get in the streets and people will shout, or at least stay at their homes. But in this situation, they saw that people may actually, shout against and resist against the military. I think this is also another important turning point.
Okay. Talha Köse, we will leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us here on